Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Stop being too nice in 2025. In a world increasingly connected by technology and ideas, being kind and compassionate is essential. But today, I want to challenge you with a provocative thought: stop being too nice. Niceness, as we often practice it, has become a veil, a facade that can mask our true thoughts and feelings. It's the easy route, the path of least resistance. We say yes when we mean no, we smile when we're uncomfortable. We soften our words to avoid conflict, even at the expense of clarity and authenticity. Let me be clear, this isn't about abandoning kindness or empathy. Far from it. It's about rethinking what being nice means in 2025, a time that demands courage, authenticity, and the willingness to set boundaries. When we're too nice, we often trade short-term harmony for long-term dissatisfaction. We diminish our own needs, deny others the truth, and stifle meaningful growth. This isn't kindness, it's avoidance. The world doesn't need people who are agreeable at all costs. The world needs people who are brave enough to be honest. It needs leaders who will speak up when something feels wrong. It needs individuals who value connection over perfection, authenticity over approval. Think about it. How often have you said yes to something because you didn't want to disappoint someone else, only to end up disappointing yourself? How often have you bitten your tongue, smiled, and said, "It's fine," when it absolutely wasn't? In 2025, let's redefine what it means to be nice. Let's embrace a new kind of strength, one rooted in honesty, vulnerability, and respect for both ourselves and others. We live in a culture that often celebrates saying yes to new opportunities, yes to helping others, yes to proving our worth. While saying yes can open doors and create possibilities, today I want to focus on an equally powerful and often overlooked word: no. No is one of the shortest words in the English language, but it carries immense power. It's a boundary, a decision, and a declaration of self-respect. Yet, for many of us, saying no feels uncomfortable, even impossible. Why? Because we've been conditioned to believe that no is selfish, rude, or unkind. But here's the truth: saying no is one of the most selfless things you can do. When you say no, you're not just protecting your time, energy, and mental health, you're also giving others clarity and respect. You're showing them where you stand, what you value, and what you're capable of offering. Let me tell you a story. A few years ago, a friend of mine, let's call her Sarah, was drowning in commitments. She was the go-to person for everyone around her. Need a volunteer? Call Sarah. Stuck at work and need someone to pick up the kids? Sarah's got you. Organizing a community event? Sarah will handle it. But Sarah wasn't just busy, she was exhausted. One day, she broke down and admitted, "I don't even know who I am anymore. I'm so busy trying to make everyone else happy that I've forgotten how to take care of myself." Sarah's story isn't unique. So many of us are Sarah in some way. We overcommit, overextend, and over-apologize. And why? Because deep down, we equate saying no with letting people down, with being unkind or unhelpful. But here's the shift we need to make: saying no doesn't mean you're rejecting someone, it means you're respecting both yourself and them. When Sarah finally started saying no, her life changed. At first, it was hard. She felt guilty. But over time, she realized that every no she said to something that didn't serve her was a yes to something that did. She had more time for her family, her passions, and her own well-being. She became more present, more joyful, and more fulfilled. And guess what? The world didn't fall apart when Sarah said no. People adapted. They found other solutions. Some even started respecting her more because she showed them that her time and energy were valuable. So how do we embrace the power of no without guilt? Recognize your priorities before you can say no. You need to be clear on what you're saying yes to, what truly matters to you, what aligns with your goals, values, and well-being. When you know your priorities, it's easier to recognize when a request doesn't fit. Reframe your perspective. Saying no isn't about rejection, it's about direction. It's not about shutting people out, it's about guiding your energy toward what matters most. Practice with compassion. You can say no without being harsh. Phrases like, "I appreciate the offer, but I can't commit to this right now," or "Thank you for thinking of me, but I have to decline," convey respect and kindness while still holding your boundary. Embrace the discomfort. Let's be honest, saying no can feel awkward, especially at first. But discomfort is a small price to pay for the peace and clarity that boundaries bring. Remember, you're worth your time, energy, and well-being are precious. You're not a bottomless resource. Protecting these isn't selfish, it's necessary. Celebrate your courage. Every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, you're saying yes to yourself. That's something to be proud of. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not here to be everything to everyone. We are here to live meaningful lives, guided by our values and passions. Saying no is not an act of defiance, it's an act of courage. It's a declaration that you value yourself enough to protect your time, your energy, and your purpose. So I challenge you the next time someone asks for something that doesn't align with your values, take a deep breath, summon your courage, and say no, not with guilt, but with grace. Because in that moment, you're not just saying no to them, you're saying yes to yourself. We live in a world where perfection is constantly praised. Social media shows us curated lives where everything looks flawless, perfect meals, perfect vacations, perfect families. From a young age, we're taught to aim high, to be polished, to avoid mistakes. But here's the paradox: while we chase perfection, we lose something far more valuable: connection. And connection is the heartbeat of human existence. It's what makes us feel seen, heard, and valued. It's what bridges the gaps between our differences and brings us closer together. And yet, in our pursuit of perfection, we often put up walls that block genuine connection. I think about it, how many times have you hesitated to share your true feelings out of fear of judgment? How often do you hide your struggles, hoping to appear put together? And how many moments have you missed because you were too focused on getting it just right? I'd like to share a story. A few years ago, I was speaking at an event. I had spent weeks preparing, crafting the perfect speech, rehearsing every line. When I stepped onto the stage, I felt confident until I stumbled on a sentence. My mind blanked, and there was a long, awkward pause. I panicked. My inner critic screamed, "You've ruined everything." But then something unexpected happened. Instead of trying to cover it up, I laughed and said, "Well, that didn't go as planned." The audience laughed with me. In that moment of imperfection, something shifted. People leaned in, they listened more closely. Afterwards, several attendees told me how much they appreciated my honesty. That day, I learned a powerful lesson: people don't connect with perfection, they connect with authenticity. When we're real, we invite others to be real too. We create a space where vulnerability is not a weakness but a strength, where our flaws become bridges instead of barriers. So how do we shift from perfection to connection? 1. Embrace your imperfections. Your flaws, quirks, and struggles are not liabilities, they're assets. They make you human, they make you relatable. When you share your imperfections, you give others permission to do the same. 2. Choose vulnerability over image. Being vulnerable means showing up as your true self, even when it's uncomfortable. It's saying, "I don't have all the answers," or "I'm struggling with this," instead of pretending everything is fine. Vulnerability is the foundation of trust and intimacy. 3. Let go of the need to be liked. The truth is, not everyone will like you, and that's okay. Trying to please everyone is exhausting and ultimately impossible. Focus instead on being authentic. The right people will appreciate you for who you are, not who you think you're supposed to be. 4. Celebrate effort, not outcomes. Perfection is about results. Connection is about the journey. Celebrate your effort, your growth, and your willingness to show up. When you do, you'll inspire others to do the same. 5. Practice self-compassion. If you want to connect with others, start by connecting with yourself. Be kind to yourself when you make mistakes. Treat yourself with the same compassion you would offer a friend. 6. Shift your perspective. Perfection might impress people, but authenticity inspires them. Ask yourself, do you want people to admire you from a distance, or do you want them to truly know you? Let me tell you another story. I once attended a dinner party where everyone seemed polished and perfect. The conversation was polite but shallow until one guest shared a story about a recent failure. At first, there was silence. Then, one by one, others began to share their own struggles and vulnerabilities. By the end of the night, we weren't just guests at a party, we were friends. That's the power of choosing connection over perfection. It transforms relationships, it deepens understanding, it turns strangers into allies. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't connect through our successes, we connect through our shared humanity. Our laughter, our tears, our struggles, our triumphs, that's where real connection happens. So let go of the pressure to be perfect. Show up as you are, not as who you think you should be. Embrace the messy, the flawed, the real. Because at the end of the day, people won't remember how polished you were. They'll remember how you made them feel. Choose connection over perfection. Because in the imperfections, that's where the magic happens. We're constantly told to please others, to go the extra mile, and to be accommodating. There's a quiet truth we often avoid saying no, saying the difficult truth, and disappointing others takes courage. Let me be clear, we all want to be liked. We want to feel accepted. We want to be the person everyone turns to, the one who always has a solution, the one who never lets anyone down. It's natural to want to be the hero in other people's lives. But here's the reality that so many of us forget: you can't be the hero for everyone without losing yourself. What happens when we say yes when we mean no? What happens when we put everyone else's needs ahead of our own, time and time again, only to realize we have nothing left to give? What happens when we keep quiet, avoiding difficult conversations because we fear disappointing someone, only to find that the tension and resentment start to eat away at us? The truth is, every time we avoid disappointing someone, we're sacrificing our own peace of mind, our own integrity, and sometimes even our own happiness. But here's the catch: the courage to disappoint is not about being selfish, it's about being honest, and it's about protecting what truly matters to you. I want to share a story. A few years ago, I was in a situation where I had to make a decision that could disappoint a lot of people. It was a job offer, a fantastic opportunity that would open doors, enhance my career, and give me financial security. But there was something inside me that wasn't sitting right. The role demanded long hours, constant travel, and an absence from my family, the people I cared most about. I wrestled with this decision for weeks. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that I was being presented with a choice between pleasing others and living authentically. If I accepted the role, I would be disappointing my loved ones who needed me to be present. I would be disappointing myself because the job didn't align with my values and priorities. And so I turned it down. The decision wasn't easy. I feared the disappointment from my colleagues, my mentors, and even my own inner voice, telling me I was being foolish for passing up such an opportunity. But when I took a step back, I realized that the most important person to consider was me. In that moment, I learned a valuable lesson: sometimes disappointing others is exactly what we need to do in order to honor ourselves. Here's why the courage to disappoint is so powerful. One, it's an act of honesty. When you make a decision that may disappoint others, you're being honest about your limits, your values, and your priorities. You're not pretending to be something you're not. You're not putting on a mask of perfection or making promises you can't keep. You're standing in your truth. Two, it protects your boundaries. Boundaries aren't walls, they're the lines that define where you end and others begin. When you say no, or when you have the courage to disappoint, you're protecting your time, your energy, and your well-being. You're drawing a line that says, this is where I stop and where I need space to breathe, grow, and recharge. Three, it fosters respect. Ironically, people respect honesty more than they respect the person who is always saying yes. When you disappoint someone with truth, you're offering them a gift, the gift of clarity. Instead of leaving them in a state of confusion, wondering where they stand with you, you're giving them a clear picture of what you can and cannot offer. This builds trust and shows integrity. Four, it allows for true growth. When you honor your own needs, you make space for your personal growth. You stop running on empty. You stop letting guilt and fear dictate your actions. You create room for new opportunities, healthier relationships, and more fulfilling experiences. By disappointing others, you often open the door to a life that aligns more closely with your passions and your purpose. Five, it shows self-respect. Choosing to disappoint others in the short term is a demonstration of self-respect. It's a recognition that you too deserve to honor your values, your time, and your personal growth. It's a reminder that you are not a people pleaser, you are someone who values their own peace, their own well-being, and their own needs. Six, it builds authentic relationships. The people who truly love and respect you will understand when you need to disappoint them. They will see your honesty as a reflection of your care for them, not a sign that you don't value them. These are the people who will stick around because they recognize the integrity in your decisions. They will appreciate that you didn't say yes out of obligation, but no out of respect for yourself and for them. So how do we start practicing the courage to disappoint? Clarify your priorities before you can disappoint anyone. You need to know what matters most to you. What do you value? What are your non-negotiables? When you have clarity, it becomes easier to make decisions that honor those values. Communicate honestly. If you need to disappoint someone, do it with respect and kindness. Be honest, but not harsh. Acknowledge their feelings and explain your decision without apology. People can handle the truth, they just need it to be delivered with compassion. Embrace the discomfort. Disappointing others will not always feel good. It may cause discomfort, guilt, or even temporary tension. But remember, the discomfort of disappointing someone pales in comparison to the long-term discomfort of living out of alignment with your true self. Practice self-compassion when you make a decision that disappoints someone. It's important to practice kindness towards yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Understand that you are doing the right thing for your well-being and that of others in the long run. trust the process in the end, people will respect you more for standing by your decisions than for constantly trying to please them. Trust that you are making the right choices, even when it feels hard. The courage to disappoint is not about being cold or indifferent. It's about knowing that sometimes, in order to be truly loving, honest, and authentic, we must put ourselves first. We must be willing to disappoint others in the short term to protect our peace, our values, and our purpose in the long term. So I challenge you, the next time you find yourself trying to please everyone, take a step back and ask yourself, what do I need right now? If the answer means disappointing someone, remember it's a courageous act of self-respect. It's the beginning of honoring your own truth. And in that truth, you will find freedom. We are constantly bombarded with messages about who we should be. Social media shows us perfect versions of ourselves and others, filtered through lenses that mask our true identities. Society tells us that success means fitting into certain molds, meeting certain standards, and following well-trodden paths. We're encouraged to follow trends, mimic others, and present an image of ourselves that will be accepted, liked, and admired. But here's the reality: the greatest power you possess is not in fitting into these molds or meeting these expectations. The greatest power you possess is in being authentically yourself. Authenticity is not a buzzword or a fleeting trend. It's a fundamental quality that shapes our deepest connections, our most meaningful achievements, and the lives we lead. It is a superpower, one that, when embraced, can transform not only how we see the world, but how the world sees us. When you live authentically, you are living aligned with your truth, your values, your passions, your needs, your desires. Authenticity is the courage to express who you are without apology, without fear, and without the need to gain approval. So why is authenticity a superpower? One, it fosters deep, genuine connections. One of the most powerful things that authenticity does is allow us to form real, meaningful connections with others. When we show up as our true selves, flaws, quirks, and all, we invite others to do the same. It's in our shared vulnerability and honesty that we find the most profound connections. We stop trying to perform or impress, and we begin to simply be. These authentic connections are the foundation of strong, supportive relationships, both personal and professional. When people see that you are being true to yourself, they are more likely to trust you, open up to you, and form a deeper bond. Authenticity builds trust because it eliminates pretense. People don't need to second-guess your motives or read between the lines. They know who you are, and that clarity fosters connection. Two, it leads to greater fulfillment. When we live authentically, we align ourselves with our core values and passions. We stop chasing external validation and start pursuing what truly fulfills us. In doing so, we find a sense of purpose that transcends fleeting achievements or superficial success. For example, think about a time when you felt truly alive, when you were fully immersed in an activity, a project, or a conversation that energized you. Chances are those moments were filled with authenticity. Whether it was a creative endeavor, a deeply personal conversation, or a meaningful project, it was authentic to your true self. On the other hand, when we try to fit into roles that don't suit us, when we follow paths that others have chosen for us, we end up feeling drained, uninspired, and disconnected. But when we embrace authenticity, we unlock a sense of fulfillment that no external approval can provide. Three, it brings clarity and confidence. Living authentically removes the pressure to conform or wear masks. You no longer have to juggle multiple versions of yourself or live in a state of constant self-doubt. When you know who you are and embrace it, you gain clarity about your choices, your direction, and your goals. Authenticity breeds confidence because it allows you to stand firm in your identity. You no longer need to second-guess your decisions or worry about whether people will approve of you. When you live in alignment with your truth, your actions and words naturally reflect that confidence. People are drawn to authenticity because it's magnetic. There's nothing more attractive than someone who is comfortable in their own skin. Four, it cultivates resilience. One of the most powerful aspects of authenticity is its ability to build resilience. When we live authentically, we are less susceptible to external pressures or judgments. We stop seeking constant approval, which means we are less affected by criticism or rejection. Authenticity gives us the strength to weather challenges because it's rooted in a deep sense of self. When we know who we are and what we stand for, we can face difficult situations with courage and conviction. We become less likely to bend to societal pressures and more likely to stay true to our values, even in the face of adversity. Five, it enables you to lead by example. Authenticity doesn't just empower you to live a fulfilling life, it also inspires others to do the same. When you live authentically, you lead by example. You show others what it means to be true to themselves. This can have a profound impact, especially in leadership roles. Authentic leaders are not afraid to show their vulnerability, admit their mistakes, and express their true values. They encourage their teams to do the same, creating an environment of trust, openness, and collaboration. In turn, this authenticity breeds loyalty, respect, and innovation. 6, it creates lasting impact. When you live authentically, you are more likely to make a lasting impact on the world around you. This is because your work, your interactions, and your contributions are aligned with your passions and values. Authenticity allows you to make a difference that is deeply meaningful, not just for the sake of external recognition or success, but because you are doing what truly matters to you. Your authenticity becomes a beacon, attracting others who share your vision or appreciate your genuine approach. The impact you create is not fleeting, because it's grounded in something real, something powerful yourself. So how do we tap into authenticity as our superpower? Know yourself. The first step is self-awareness. Spend time reflecting on your values, your passions, your strengths and your weaknesses. The more you understand yourself, the easier it becomes to live authentically.